Hey boys, good to see you again. It's been a couple of months. It's been a couple of months since we did one of these few months ago, and it's good to sit down again for the round two. I think the idea behind this is to just kind of have an open chat and see what changed in the business, how we've evolved, what we've done in the last couple of months. So let's catch up. Who wants to go first? What's been the big idea in the last couple of months?
Mate, we killed BIM in the last few months, so that was a big change for me. So we came
Yeah,
from
cool.
a certain background where we're innovating around 3D models and design management, and all those things are still real and valid. But really, what we've realized as a business is that we can provide a lot more value to a certain type of construction company, and we really want to work with them. We've talked to a lot of them. We've seen a repeatable problem. Still love our BIM mates, but basically, we've seen now that there's a fit between the product we've built and a certain size construction business that has real problems around data and managing their projects.
Mate, when you talk about we killed BIM, so we haven't we haven't left them behind, as you say. But maybe talk to a bit more about the evolution piece. How's that come about? What do we do differently over the last couple of months to get to where we are now?
Yeah, I think if you even go back multiple years, we obviously followed complicated projects and tier one builders, and we worked with a certain style of customer who were very savvy and had really demanding needs, and we were able to work with them, which was excellent. As certain things hit, particularly perhaps end of COVID and other things, the commercial industry in Australia started to look quite different in terms of investment, and we started to think, well, where's the market for a modern project management solution? We had obviously spoken to a lot of large construction companies and presented these solutions to them, but for whatever reason, they struggle to move or they struggle to make a change. Complicated, organizational structures and things, a lot of the time beyond the control of the people that we were talking to. And I think we all kind of agreed that if we could find someone who understood the problem and who could see what we had, but could also make a decision, that really fundamentally our business would change. It would become a lot more, targeted around helping someone solve a problem that they directly had and could make a decision on. So that's how I see that evolution over the last few months.
Michael, going to turn to you. You talk.
I think we just the vision gets a lot wider, and you're wanting to solve more of the problem. Like if you narrow your vision down to maybe it's BIM, or maybe it's safety, or maybe it's whatever, drawings. How do you solve drawings in a construction environment? Like if you stay there, you don't realize the bigger problem, which is it's disconnected. These construction companies are wrestling with trying to bring something to life. There's many stakeholders, there's many moving parts, and BIM might be one of those, drawings might be another one of those, safety might be another one, cost, all these things. But what we know is, like, if you can bring a lot of those things together, even if we put deep space aside, if you could have the data across all of those, and now we're in this AI world, we know that there's the vacuum cleaner of data is just hooving up as much as possible, because what happens is it's the clarity of a project becomes so much more clear. You can understand how the project's going because we can see across a lot more parts of the business, but parts of the construction project, especially when you're talking to someone like a project manager. Their problem doesn't just live in one area. They're trying to bring this thing to life, but they need to know about costs. They need to know about time. They need to know about quality. And so that's, I think, really, we tried to solve maybe a bigger part of the problem.
Have you spoken about the problem? And the problem is big, as we all know. Many have tried it. Many are actively trying it. What makes our lens, or at least the way we're looking at the problem, different?
Yeah, I think it's domain understanding, understanding the industry. And like we often now talk to to guys who are real builders, building real things, and Michael and I talk about, both of our dads are builders, and our, brothers and brother-in-laws and things are tradies, and ultimately we're now so much closer to the reality of things getting built that we can bring kind of our digital experience, but now apply it to this level of construction, which I think is unique. The other thing that's unique about Deep Space is just it's a modern tech stack. So many of the platforms that people are using are older. There's some kind of Excel on steroids or a database on steroids, and they're really not pivoted around helping me solve my construction business and make it easy and smooth. It's almost like you're going to tell me how I should use your product, and I'm going to have to try and figure it out. And what we just hear so often is, I've bought this platform, and I won't name names, but I bought this and I'm only using one feature, but it cost me 50 grand a year and I hate it. So like, that's a real problem. You're spending too much for something that's not valuable. You're not using it as much as you should. And we're having the same conversation over and over. So we can really help.
In the sector, being around for 15, 20 years. But just break it down for me. If I'm a builder, what is it that you're trying to tell me when you say we're a modern architecture, we're modern infrastructure? What does that mean for me? Because if you're still giving me the same feature set that those solutions have given me for the last 20 years, what's the point of difference as far as Deep Space is concerned?
I think the biggest thing here is it's not like you want a platform that is just one interface to all of the different solutions out there. It's not like I want to see my safety dashboard and my drawings and my program all in the one website. It's much bigger than that. It's how does this thing relate to the other thing? And if I had an RFI, how do I relate it to, some drawings or to a spec or I've got an invoice coming in? How do I tie that back to something else? And so a modern architecture would be about bridging those things and wiring them all together so that they're innately together in one space.
Yeah. I mean, simple terms, you think of a nail gun, excellent tool. 10, 20 years ago, it was all pneumatic based. So you had a compressor and you had a pipe connected to it and you had a nail gun. It worked good. But now, very few guys are using a pneumatic nail gun on site because they've got a Makita nail gun. And it's got a battery attached to it. And all of their tools are Makita tools. And they have a bank of Makita batteries. So they may still have a real sensitivity to the old nail gun and think, oh, that used to drive nails like no tomorrow. But I've now adopted a system in my business that now does a lot of things and has this common underlying, battery, or in our case, it's a mother brain for construction. And obviously it becomes a no-brainer because everything's working together in a new way.
It's all about speed and efficiency. One of the other things we often hear is that a lot of those solutions that exist in the marketplace have been derived from the US market, right? Rightly so. That's where a lot of the inertia was in terms of software. Even though we've had some amazing local success stories, that's where majority of the software still comes from, right? So again, without really going to any particular brand name, but just from a customer lens, or a typical Australian New Zealand builder, what does that mean? And what complications do I have to deal with as a business owner when I'm purchasing software from overseas?
Yeah, from the feature perspective, you've got a lot of Americanized language. You've got American dates. You've got words that we never use in Australia, like submittals and prime contracts and other weird stuff. And it just doesn't make sense. And so that's one problem. The other problem is ultimately I can deal with some Aussie blokes who understand Aussie construction and who can come into my office and give me some donuts and help me and my team. Or I'm going to have to probably log a ticket and wait for the American head company to send someone, my way, which could take as long as it takes. And that's just, something we're proud of as a business, to be able to work so closely with Australian businesses and New Zealand.
What are the major differences between the larger tier customers or more complicated undertaking in terms of projects versus a typical builder? If I'm a builder doing somewhere in $20 million to $200 million business, what issues am I having to work through on a daily basis, and how Deep Space helps me plug those gaps.
To me, that you can't ask the question about a tier one that you just asked, because there's nobody who understands how that whole business works from top to bottom and who has control of it. There's a complicated level of hierarchies through, from project managers to state officers to the national level to overhead budgets. And we've experienced it because we try and talk to somebody who understands the problem and who cares, and we cannot or struggle to find that person, right? Because everybody has a job role that's quite narrow. And if I'm the chief, information officer, I'm worried about IT security, but I'm not worried about getting the job done on site. So that's just a problem in big organizations. Whereas when we now meet with people, the first meeting we can have 1, 2, 3, 4 GMs in a room. They're all decision makers. They all know the problem. They all see what's happening on site, and they all want to fix it. Like, that energy in that room is completely different. And they're like, yes, we want to come on a journey with you, because we say straight up, we don't have 100% of every feature you're going to want, but we want to build the next 10% with you to close this up and make it happen in the next couple of months. And we easily find those people who are keen to come on that journey.
A lot of people listening to this will go, okay, that all sounds good. However, construction with its complexity is normally slow pace, right? In terms of innovation and also adoptions of technology. So if I'm a general manager of a business, construction business, listening to this, what's the risk of not doing anything about it? Or just going with, she'll be right. I've got my beloved spreadsheet, the estimator has always worked on. I've got a couple of tools that are doing enough for me to get by. What's the risk that I should even, listening to this, kind of go, I need to do something about it? What's the call for action?
There's just a certain type of customer who we don't want, and I'm going to be quite rude about this, but if you're comfortable with your 5-point solutions and your business is running okay and you don't want to grow your business and you're happy, then that's fine. But we're basically talking to people who want to grow their business. They know that their systems are not going to work as they grow, and they want to have more time with their family, and they want to play a bit of golf. And they're the customers who say to us, look, this is not working. What we have right now, they say, we need a system. We know that there's 5 hours lost here, 6 hours lost here, 10 hours here every single week, and we can plug those gaps. And so it's hard to kind of say this, but the risk is, what kind of business do you want to be? You can be a business that stays kind of flat, and you can be a business that kind of grows and gets more profit, if you have the right systems in place.
Michael, coming to you.
Yeah, I was just going to add in there that risk profile that it's the guy who really is laying awake at night because he can't quite stomach making the $1 million decision based off the spreadsheet that he looked at. These guys are running maybe their business off a spreadsheet, and it's the stomach for this kind of risk it doesn't allow them to sleep real well at night.
Absolutely. Mate, this one for you kick it off. So Luke just mentioned that a lot of the features we're building and, the product, in my experience these days, has to be so much bigger than, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, just because the complexity of the businesses, but the problems we're trying to have to overcome. What does the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months look like? I don't want to go any beyond that because there is just so much that changes within that time frame, but maybe talk us through as to what's happening within the business over the next quarter to 12 months.
Yeah, as we tighten up this collection of data that's coming into Deep Space, and the data correlates between one part of the application to another part, we drive out the insights that's going to lead and the comfort that's going to give to the exec team as they log into a workspace and see their business or their whole portfolio of projects. We've reduced the friction and the pain that is often associated with jumping from one point solution to another, many different point solutions. Yeah, that's why we just keep driving on that. I mean, the biggest one we're working on right now is the cost piece. Maybe Luke, you could talk a bit more to the cost piece, but Cost management is, I mean, the rubber hits the road with cost. I mean, cash is king and all that classic, all the cliches, but it's a big piece to solve. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, like we have decided to solve a problem that sits in between when you've done your estimate and when you're doing your cash accounting. And so, from a project management point of view, you need to be able to do budgets. You need to be able to issue purchase orders, claims, invoices, health and safety, quality, manage your design, manage your coordination. You need to have your site safety. You need to have timesheets. And so it is quite clear what those things are, and we are very close to completing all those. And so within the next 2 months, with this very special group of early adopters that we've got, we're going to see all those things roll out onto their real projects. They're going to be obviously seeing this new experience where they've now got one software instead of 5. And obviously they're going to be continually helping us to refine that. But I just see in that 2 to 3 months period, we're going to have this really smooth workflow. Ricky, around innovation, around the estimating piece, but we really, it's going to be into scaling that up then and across more and more businesses across Australia and New Zealand.
You know what the best, you know what the funniest one is, and this is so Aussie, and this is exactly who we're going after. The guy who says she'll be right, right? Like, it is fraught with so much risk. Of like, oh, we'll just wing it. We're just going to be, it's going to be all right. And we talk to people who say, well, you know, we've been building buildings for ever, yeah, but we've forgotten the pain and the hurt along the way. It's like, oh yeah, she'll be right. It's this overly optimistic view of the future that, oh yeah, we're going to make it up on these opportunities. We're going to make back time here. We're going to make up costs here. Okay, and then the job, you know, it's like, oh yeah, that blew out. Okay, well, on the next job, she'll be right. So, we can't keep doing that.
I want to share this quote from a call today, right? So this is one guy. He's right. Email we talked about. I use OneDrive and Dropbox as well. Some of our files are quite large. Back to the 2D and 3D drawings, I send them out on WhatsApp. Lots of them I send them on OneDrive links. Some of them I'll go to, this girl to send them. They should all have access to OneDrive on their phone. Some are not that technically capable. So, it's the same. It's typical for me. That's 6 ways that I communicate with them. Then they'll ring me back and go, hey, can you send me the drawing again? And that's exactly the people that we're dealing with right now and the challenges that they're dealing with. They've tried to come up with a solution that almost works, but really is a lot of wasted effort,
I think even though we laugh, the problem, I think, to end this on a high note, is that the problems are quite large, right? These people still run a very big, in many cases, big businesses. They've got big payrolls to fill every second week. And it's not fun, right? Life should also be fun. And at some point, when it stops becoming fun, whether it be you're a founder or you're a business owner, it has an impact and a social impact that goes beyond business. So I think the vision that we are trying to work on will change many people's lives in many, many ways, not just from a technical perspective either, right? Like, we want to bring fun back in these people's lives and their businesses so they can thrive, so our communities can thrive, social impact that it has in countries and economies. Yeah, there's just so much to look forward to, and I do feel like we're just getting started.
That and the donuts.
That was the joke. I think we could probably